All right. Good day and good evening. And since we are recording on a Friday, happy Friday, Fun Day Friday, Freaky Friday, whatever makes you happy, people. Welcome back to another Live the Fuel show. So we are streaming this live in the Facebook world, and I'm excited to finally get this new guest co-host on the show for you because she's a fellow health nut like myself, and also believes in sacrificing Fun Day Friday for some podcasting. So we're gonna have some fun today because I already knew about her thanks to shout out to my friend, client, etc., Vinny Tortorich of the Fitness Confidential show. He brings on a lot of great, healthy, fit influencers, and that's how I found her, I believe. And then dug into her background, and she's very into holistic methods. She's very into healthy lifestyle, which is something we care a lot about on this show. And she's even developed a holistic method coaching program. So that's right, people. We're going to talk maybe some health coaching, nutrition, maybe a lot of things that could be helping you right now, since we're recording in the middle of this worldwide pandemic. So without further ado, Debbie Potts, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a good way to spend a Friday when you're kind of burnt out of working at home all day on the computer. So it's good to have some live content.
And you are literally the third show this week I've recorded where I've been meaning to redo the walls in the home office, right? Like new decor, something to change it up. And everybody's got the motivational, inspirational stuff behind them. And I did that for years. And then I stepped away from it, like Wake Up and Live. I love that. And I was like, you know, and then my wife and I did a framing project this week. And we framed up some stuff from our wedding because we had a heli skiing wedding in Canada up in Banff last year. So now we actually have some new wall art. So I was like, you know what? I might go with like a ski motif / motivational content. We're going to see what's going to happen next. So
yeah, the background's important when you're doing a lot of live podcasts.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's why I have the fired up light behind me, because that was built by a fan. So shout out to James of Endurance Woodcraft. He makes like homemade signs. He takes his chainsaw and slices a disc off of a tree and then does his magic. Yeah, that's that cool sign right there. So he inlaid it with LED lighting, so it makes the wood glow. So that's crazy. I'll take it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, he and I have a fun backstory. He and I met through CrossFit, and he's an engineer, and then he always wanted to have a side hustle. So we started talking about side hustles and started coaching him a little bit just as a friend. And next thing you know, I found out, I stopped by his house one day and he had an entire workshop there with woodworking and everything else. I'm like, you already have a side hustle? He's like, yeah, I just do it for fun. I'm like, what if your fun can make you money?
Exactly. That's how you want it, right? You know, you find your purpose and your passion and put it together. That is your job. This is what you love doing for fun.
So there you go. Perfect segue into the show. Purpose and passion. See, I knew you and I would just rock the mics today. Purpose and passion. So obviously we're going to talk about healthy things today. But since you're a fellow entrepreneur who's also going through her own planning of relocations and all kinds of stuff, still moving on with life, right? Not letting all the stuff that's going on while we're recording this during the pandemic hold us back. I'm reminding people on a regular basis about that entrepreneurially, because our economy in many different ways has screeched to a halt for some niches. And people have all of a sudden now have extra free time that they didn't have before. Like we all have the same 24 hours in a day. So I've reminded people, whether it's business or health or the lifestyle, like this is a time to kind of hit the reset switch, assess your situation, maybe look at what your purposes are in all of this, maybe figure out some new paths, which most people, when you look on social media right now, everybody's become the guru home fitness coach, which is super fun. Have you seen the blooper videos that are going around?
I did see some funny ones last month. Hilarious, but also dangerous.
Yes. This one dude like got hit by a door. I mean, his whole door ripped off the hinges. I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, I couldn't believe they're actually real. I thought they're like just funny people are making them. They're for real.
I paused it and then I actually downloaded the video and I slow-moed it just so I could really, really analyze it, because I was a geek about it. I was like, oh yeah, that's a face shot. I mean, that's going to leave a mark.
Yeah. You got to be safe out there.
So let's talk about purpose and passion.
Yes.
Let's dive into that. Clearly, you weren't always into this path. You didn't have the Whole Athlete podcast in the beginning. You didn't have your holistic method coaching program that you've developed. What triggered that purpose and passion, right, that led into all of this?
Well, I've always been in fitness fortunately, I closed my fitness business last October 1st, just in time for this craziness.
The listeners, I thumbs up her. So
yeah,
and that's weird, but she's going to explain why.
Yeah, so we can go into that. But I closed my business after 10 years of trying to own a brick and mortar fitness studio. But for years, I've always been into, helping people get healthy besides exercise. Like being a personal trainer for years, you realize I'm not really getting anywhere training this person half an hour, once or twice a week, and then they go home and eat whatever. They go to bed at midnight. They're stressed out at work all the time with their family, whatever it is. So over the years, I kind of thought, if I want to help people make a difference and inspire them to create change and self-care, there's something else, there's other things. So I started going down different rabbit holes over the years of different educational programs, coaching programs, starting with Ben Greenfield's Superhuman coach program 10 years ago, and just always been into that since I was in college. But it also paralleled with my own internal breakdown. So I'm a perfect example of that. You can be fit and healthy on the outside and not so healthy on the inside. And that's what I keep preaching about the last couple months with this COVID-19, that there's more health of your appearance on the outside. What's your microbiome? Do you have gut dysbiosis, leaky gut, food intolerances, this whole stuff that we talk about all the time. So my health and breakdown started in 2013. So that kind of led me down more of a passionate direction and finding this new journey for my own self, trying to get answers. But then I realized my story is so similar to everyone else's of chronic stress. And I wrote a book just to kind of go through my own history to figure out my why. How did this happen? And so I wrote a book called Life is Not a Race, It is a Journey. And then along that way, created a program called the Holistic Method of 8 elements that we really need to take into account when we're working on improving the whole person, the whole individual. So fat loss, health, and performance. So, being an Ironman athlete for years and marathons and 50K trail running, it sounds
great for mental fortitude. So, so it's funny because you're hitting on external and internal influences, but yet you've already proven that you could accomplish so many things that are definitely going to break you mentally. So, yeah, that Ironman athlete factor is no joke.
Yeah, I think what my passion and purpose, to answer your question, is that I went from being an elite athlete to, fatigued, tired, depressed, gained 30 pounds overnight, just lost everything I had as an athlete. And I felt like it was overnight, and it wasn't. And so that's kind of my purpose now, is like, all right, what happened to me could happen to you. Let's stop it now before you ignore it 5 years later and end up me 8 years later still can't do that triathlon or still can't run a marathon.
Well, it's funny you bring all this up, right? So I've done my own endurance sports history. And by the way, I'm going to screen share for the people watching live on Facebook right now. We'll be watching on YouTube as well. Her site is her name, by the way, Debbie Potts with 2 T's.net. And there's the book, Life is Not a Race, It is a Journey. And obviously the holistic method. So I like where we're going with this because I too didn't really understand the whole chronic stress thing or, what stress can do to you. Like I made myself work my butt off when I went from farm kid to corporate life and thought that was the answer, chasing the money to make the dream. And made myself go back to school to finish the degree that I never finished and did all this stuff in my 20s. So I didn't really, I had some fun along the way, but I was like, I didn't live a normal 20s that most kids do. And then I'm now 42, so I can't believe I'm saying in my 20s I'm calling them kids. So I just make myself sound like my dad. But the point here is that then I left all that behind, finished the degree, checked off the box, resume is looking great, was going to look at new companies. And then right in those last final months of that year, I had something in the back of my head. I learned about wildland firefighting out west, and you live in Seattle, so right now, so you understand that. You're looking at California as a market. Like, dude, wildland firefighting is big out west. So I'm an East Coast guy, had no clue what I was looking into. So boom, next thing you know, put myself through a fire academy, and through the luck of whatever, landed an elite position on a hot shot crew. And hot shots are no joke. And I had no idea what I was getting myself in. I had a rough idea, but then, holy crap, you show up and the first 2 weeks of your fire season is 2-a-day workouts, CrossFit themed. I mean, I'm hiking 7,000 feet in gear, and I mean, they just break you down, very militaristic. Then you take that lifestyle, if you survive that, which we did, and then it's like, okay, wow, great. For the next 6 months, you are going to do this 16 hours a day. I mean, if you're live on a fire assignment, that's your life. 16 hours a day, that is your shift. You know, granted, you're getting paid double time and all this stuff, so that's how you made your money as a firefighter, because if you weren't on a fire, you weren't making squat. So we were being good government monkeys. Well, at the end of each fire season, I was beat to snot. I mean, we just did, on average, 1,800 to 2,000 hours. Well, if you do the math, 9 to 5, a 9 to 5er, like my old corporate life, 40 hours a week. If you're not salary, then you're doing 60. But like, you know where I'm going with this. Like, okay, well, by the end, I didn't know. I never took a whole year's worth of labor, crammed it into 6 months, sleep issues, fatigue, the government food that they fed us at fire camps. If we were remote in the mountains, we were eating MREs that were jacked full of preservatives, like you name it. So granted, we were peak athletes as firefighters, but at the end of it, like my energy, that's when I started looking into, and I found out about, you know, intermittent fasting, and then getting into 48-hour fasts and doing detoxification of the body to help try and get my body to kind of catch up and rebuild. And that's back in 2010 and 2011. So fast forward to today, I'm not exactly like you, but I can connect with you. And I'm excited where we're going with this, because not everybody has to do what you and I are talking about right now to reach these states, right? So what's some examples of people you've worked with that, okay, you don't need to be the Ironman athlete, you don't need to be the former firefighter to reach that negative state?
Yeah, so true. I mean, that's when I tell people that I work with that, you know, I don't necessarily work with athletes. That's just my story, what happened to me running a small business and having a part-time 20 hours a week active job training. So most clients, examples, a mother, you know, taking care of kids that are a lot of work with maybe ADHD. And so they've got a crazy lifestyle, and they have a husband, and just parents have a stressful job. And then you've got the person that works full time, they commute to work, they have a stressful job, and the hour commute going there and coming home an hour was a big part of their stress, and traffic, and then just the chaos of working long hours, and then they don't have time to check their emails, so then they're up on their computers doing personal stuff till 11 at night. And so I find that everyone has their own story, and they have their own why, and where is their external stressors coming from? It's different for everybody. And some people can tolerate stress better than others, but what I keep researching lately is how chronic stress is external, but also it starts to be internal stressors as well that are accumulating. Okay. And we don't know unless we do functional lab testing. So it's kind of led me down to becoming a practitioner to help this, because I think a lot of people don't even realize that they're completely burned out and broken down because they blame the aging process. Say, this is the new me, this is the normal, this is what happens as I get older, or menopause, whatever excuse.
Oh, there's a lot of excuses, yes. We're all guilty of them. I mean, I think as we get better at the self-development and the awareness, we catch ourselves, I think, using them more. So, I mean, I catch myself all the time, like, oh, come on, don't go down that route, Scott. You know better. You know, bad.
You do. You have to learn what your triggers are. And that's what I did when I wrote my book. It was more for my own therapy session, but what were my red flags that happened for probably the 10 years before my breakdown happened in March 2013 that led me to that day? It worked up. So I wasn't aware of it. So I had to go back in time to like high school and go back like, okay, where were these things happening that I was so oblivious to? So that is kind of a task I give everyone I work with. Is like, let's go back and see, what are your stressors? You know, what are things that are triggers for you that activate that stress response? And, you know, we know that acute stress is good, beneficial, but when it comes like nonstop, it just never turns off. That when it gets to be trouble for our bodies.
Well, and I love what we're leading off with the stress factors, but I want to make sure we don't skip over the fact that I kind of started off talking about, your low carb podcast, and we talk a lot about nutrition as a foundation as well. And obviously that's how I got connected with you, which is Vinny, you know, he owns the trademark NSNG, no sugar, no grains. And that's a big part of this too, is that the mental game is huge, right? But back to your point, it's mental and physical. So what are we doing to treat our bodies like temples? And I really want to make sure we had this in the show today too, is that people are not focusing, everybody's focusing on the news and pandemic this and pandemic that. And I'm like, guys, like, we should be controlling what we can actually control. Okay, I can't change those numbers. I can't change the statistics. I don't get into the politics. Don't care about any of that. Granted, I mean, some people are vegan, vegetarian. You make your choice, but I'm eating my steak. Like last night, I grilled up some beautiful grass-fed fillets. I cook with butter and olive oil and coconut oil. I've removed a lot of these inflammatory components, which is a big tie back to that low carb. I'm air quoting for the listeners. Low carb this, sugar-free that, keto this, keto that. There's a lot of terms being tossed around these days, and these people don't really understand the true definition. Like, I love it when I see like this keto dessert. I'm like, that's like just like its predecessor, the paleo dessert. And I was like, no, there was no desserts in the Paleolithic era. Just like there's no actual desserts in a ketogenic lifestyle, fat adapted, low carb. So where do you want to tie that in with the stress component? I'm intrigued with your professional point of view on that, because something as simple as what seems sugars and grains has a much bigger picture here of things that are affecting us, especially tied back to stress and inflammatory responses.
Well, that's a big rabbit hole. And that's, just something ongoing. I keep reading or researching to write about chronic stress in your immune system. And I'm up to like 80 pages the past 2 months of putting together research. Yeah. Because I'm just trying to write, and then I'm making it into ebook for my website eventually. But it's so fascinating how it's like chronic stress impacts everything. So first thing, what we can do is what I keep saying is take ownership. Take control. You have a choice. And I posted a great quote I found on Word Swag that I use on Instagram last night. It's like, you can choose to be miserable right now, or you can choose to get stronger. And I just thought it was so great. It's like, you have a choice. You have a choice what you put in your mouth. You have a choice to get your butt outside at sunrise and go for a walk around the block. You have a choice to get yourself to bed and have a consistent schedule. It's all on you. And you're going to get me started, but I've been just fired up. I've been staying off Facebook because I can't stand reading all these different things. Just stresses me out of what's going on. But what I wish people would share is that we need to take self-care. It's all on you to choose what you eat. Sure. So to talk about, you found it. Look at you.
Oh yeah. Screen sharing, people. There's a graphic. We either make ourselves miserable or we make ourselves strong. The amount of work is the same. Yeah.
I mean, so going back to your question on food, it costs more. We're just talking today. It costs more to get grass-fed meat, organic, but at least you can choose to get vegetables and meat and get good sources of fat. You can choose that. Similar price range, I'm sure, even if it's not organic, but it's not buying the Doritos and the processed foods and all the crap out there. And that's what people go to. And so it's just frustrating when people don't realize when stress is on, your immune system's off. Stress comes from eating high sugar processed foods and vegetable oils. That causes stress on your body and your gut, your microbiome. Yeah. So it's like, why don't we just work on what you're eating? And I always say what you're eating, how you're eating it, when, so intermittent fasting for cell autophagy and burning fat. And then why are you eating in the first place? And all these people keep saying, why am I watching so much TV? I'm like, why? And I'm eating so much more. I'm like, well,
I'm crushing stuff like all day long right now, right? Like most of my clients, everything's online. Like I'm either on a webinar, running somebody else's webinar, or just trying to catch up on work. So I'm in front of the computer all day. I have to step away. I go out to the garage, work out. But like to your point, like today, I woke up. I do a nice ground coffee. I always freshly grind. Some people don't like the coffee. I do. I believe it. It's a healthy, natural product from Mother Nature. And I break out a little dollop of heavy cream. So boom, I got my fresh, healthy, whole fats. And then I didn't eat until 2:30 today. And then because I work out a lot, and I will burn it. I'm 6'4", 190 pounds right now. So I think I'm doing all right. And then I put down a 5-egg omelet with 4 sticks of bacon cooked in grass-fed Kerrygold butter. So everybody who doesn't have the education that you and I have will be like, oh my God, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, clearly I know what I'm doing because I've been doing this for years. But
okay.
I didn't have Doritos.
Yeah, you didn't eat crap. I think the whole thing is what I try to tell in nutritional therapy, and we say, is to eat real food, nutrient dense. Get nutrition from your food. And when it's dead
Falls
food,
on that.
process.
Nutrient dense.
Yes.
Please explain that. People just throw that out there and they don't really get it.
All right. So what would you say? I think just filled with macronutrients, with vitamins and minerals and everything you need instead of a pill, get it from your food. And if, it's hard, I take a ton of supplements, but it's hard to get that from your food. But ideally it's food. I was like Michael Pollan's book forever ago, with food rules.
Oh yeah.
And he has the best thing, like food, you can read the ingredients list that your great grandmother had, in her house, and you can read what the words are on there. And
or the ingredient list is like not a list. It's like, okay, steak is steak. That's okay. That's beef. Got
it.
Proteins and fats. Okay. Got it.
That's real food.
Kerrygold butter. Okay. I've pretty much got that one figured out. And then people are like, oh, what about this, keto manufactured product? I'm like, well, no, I'm gonna, because I'm a keto guy right now, I'm fat adapted, right? So I'm like, okay, well, keto to me, bacon, eggs, beef, I do shots of olive oil, fresh olive oil in the morning, just do a shot. I didn't do that today, but that's nice. Cause again, boom, because I'm already burning on fat. People don't get that. I'm not eating a donut for breakfast. I'm not pulling out a box or a bag of something that has a very robust ingredient list that I can't pronounce half of the stuff on it.
Yeah, exactly. Read the ingredient list. That would be a good definition of what real food is.
Yeah. Well, for example, back to stress.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. People don't understand that. Okay, I read the grid. No, don't stop at the grid. Go to the paragraph below the nutritional facts grid, look at the ingredients, and really, and I know this actually nowadays, it takes even more work to do this, but there's more to sugar than meets the eye. Most of the sugars that you think is not in that product is actually still in there, but because of the dosing of the components of sugar are less than a certain percentile, they don't have to put it in the grid. So they hide it in all the scientific words and the ingredients below. So you think you're having less than a gram of sugar, but in reality, if you read all the other sugar chemicals in those ingredients, you have more. The reason I'm bringing that up specifically is sugar. Back to your point, the brain does not long-term thrive on sugars. Yeah, it might get a little spike and a little addiction to it, but 80% of our brain tissue, or whatever the percentage is fat tissue. Mm-hmm. It loves fat.
Yeah.
Right? Brain fuel. Am I wrong on that?
No, you're right on. I mean, that's what I won't go on a tangent, but just with the whole coronavirus thing, I just feel like, okay, those people that are the ones that, if you get it, my thing is right now, if you get it, are you going to be able to have a strong enough immune system to fight it off? Yes or no? All right, so there you go. If you don't, what the heck are you doing about it to make your body stronger? That is on you. And so if you're going out, unless you have, I guess some people might have genetic problems or serious health problems, but why? What are you doing about it now? That's what I keep writing about and posting on my Facebook, social media every day. It's like, you have all this time right now before you go out in the world and start going back to our new normal. And you can start being responsible for your health. Maybe you've never done it your whole life, but this is the time of any time to start taking care of yourself with what you eat and sleeping and getting outside, moving and getting your body healthy.
Yeah, like 3 days ago, you made a post on Instagram, top 12 immune support strategies. Great post, by the way. So I want to make sure I had that queued up today. And the first one it starts off with is be grateful and positive. Hello, mindset.
Yeah, I know.
The second one, prioritize good sleep. And the third one, avoid sugar and processed foods. So the very first three are pretty simple, right? Mm-hmm. But why are we making it so complicated, Debbie?
Well, look at number 6, fresh air, sunshine, and grounding.
Grounding, also known as earthing, right?
Yeah, getting outside with your bare feet, getting out in the earth with your bare feet. And, people can at least go in their backyard, but now, it's been so long, it's like you can't go to the beach. You can't go out on your boat and think until this week we're allowed in Seattle to go out in a boat to go in the water. So it's just a lot of things that we need to do. Optimize your vitamin D. Get outside, but if you're up here in the Northwest or probably, out where you guys are, we need to take vitamin D supplementation.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're an hour north of Philadelphia, an hour and a half west of New York City. It's still the Northeast, right? So, yeah. I mean, like today it's raining. So, great. It's washing all the dirt away. But Yeah, I take a vitamin D3 with K1, K2 supplement that Vinny makes. So it's probably the best vitamin D I found. But if you don't have to use his, you can use anybody's. It's like, obviously look at how well it's made, look at their resources, et cetera. Make sure it's not coming out of China. I mean, you should be sourcing quality. If you are supplementing, sourcing quality sourced ingredient manufacturers that are actually doing it right. So
yeah, definitely, not the stuff at and Safeway or the grocery stores or those
don't
that
find
kind
your
of
vitamins
question.
at Walmart, people. Come on, stop it. Stop it. I had to convert my mom. My mom and my dad, they just had their 46th wedding anniversary on Sunday.
Nice.
And they couldn't, my mom has type 2 diabetes. Her knees are shot. My parents don't listen to me. So they do what they like. So I'm like, listen, I'm going to ship you quality vitamins and minerals. I can't keep, running your life, but I'm like, just do me a favor. Take the next 30 days and use them only. Don't use the crap you're buying from Walmart. Like they were using a powder magnesium and it had a high concentration of stearate. And I'm like, my dad's like, well, I can't take too much or else I got, the bathroom. I'm like, well, yeah, because you're eating a low quality crap supplement. So I gave him a quality magnesium that I use every single night. And all of a sudden my mom's like, oh my God, you're right. Like all of a sudden she was getting nerve pain. And again, I'm not a doctor. I can't speak to this, but she's like, well, ever since you gave me that and I stopped taking that for the past 3+ weeks, she's had almost no nerve ending pain in her arms. I'm like, huh, interesting. Really? I wonder why.
Yeah, but that doesn't make billions of dollars. So the media and the politics and everything in our world aren't going to suggest take vitamin D3 and K2 and take your vitamin C, liposomal, get an IV. They're not going to tell us that because that doesn't make billions of dollars of the pharmaceutical drug company world.
I remind people every time, like, why do you think, okay, I'm a farm kid. I grew up on a farm. I tell everybody, I'm like, I'm eating right now, my childhood. Again, I made mistakes in my 20s and my 30s, right? I went down the other paths. And then I just, again, through my own self-work, like you and I are talking about right now, listening to other podcasts, getting back into taking accountability for my own inner and external health. It's not the doctor's responsibility to fix me. I shouldn't have to go to the doctor. I'm sorry, I don't go to an MD. Granted, I did collapse the lung last year. That's a whole different thing. So that one finally required some actual MD attention and some surgery, actually, and 8 days in the hospital. But anyway, that was a fun adventure. But other than that, I don't never go to the doctor. I mean, again, I'm not going to get into the conversation about your shots every year. I don't get the influenza shot. I literally get massage every month and chiropractic every month, crush my nutrition, work out every single week. It's not rocket science. I got some vitamins and minerals and some basic natural supplements. That's it. So, hydrate like crazy. Water is life. So.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think a lot of people forget those little things that don't cost a lot. And they think it's, a lot of work to take care of themselves. But, it's alternative. You're going to die or you can thrive. So I was thinking, do you want to thrive every day in life or do you want to just get through the day and survive and just make it?
Yeah.
And to me, it's like no brainer. I'd rather choose to be healthy, but that's just how I've always been. And I was passionate about it, but it's just, how do we get those people that, are harder to win over besides our family members that don't want to listen to us, but just how do you get the rest of our non-followers to make an impact? So it's like, how do you pay it forward and share this information with people to improve your immune system by choosing what you eat,
Well, one thing I've learned, I'm sure you can back it up, you being playing the health detective that you do, is you also realize that back to you made this point earlier in the show, and I love when it comes up naturally in an episode, goes back to your why, right? So you being a detective and you doing all this additional research and trying to level your game up professionally is great. And I know a lot, you know a lot, but it took me years as well. Like I've been a spinning instructor. I've been a USSA ski race coach. I've been a CFL1 CrossFit coach. I've always had these health and fitness passions in my free time when I'm not running my business and doing firefighting in the past or being a corporate monkey. So I've always had that, but I never really took it seriously until a few years back. And then it's like, okay, I need to step up. I got to own this. But one thing I realized is this: I can't help everybody. I can't help my family. I can't help my best friends. they have to come to me and they have to really solidify their why. And then maybe, still probably can't help them, but maybe I might be able to get through to one or two. But I used to like go after everybody to try and help them and push what I know on them. And I'm like, nope, can't be done. Can't be done. Right? I mean, you with what you know, for you to be the best health detective, you have to have the right person hiring you with the right why. So how do you get through to people on the why? I love that piece for the mindset component, especially back to stress, right? Like, oh, I need this, I got to fix this, I got to fix that. I'm like, okay, well, what's driving you?
Yeah. And that's what I ask in my interviews when I have people on my show. It's like, what's your why? What's your drive? And, you know, follow your passion, your purpose. And I feel like my purpose of going through the 8 years of health imbalances that I had is so I help other people avoid going through what I have had. And so it's finding that why. So for me to help other people, what I've decided is, you know, you can't solicit people, but just you want them to come to you when they're ready for help. Because being an FDN practitioner now and focusing that as my main business is health coaching, being a health detective is really investigating with functional labs and nutritional therapy and correlating that all together to create an individualized protocol to transform, rebuild, repair the whole you. Right. So to do that though, you need to be motivated. Like I interview people, if they want help, they have to come to you, you know, and be ready to commit to 90 days or longer of these changes, or else it's not worth my time and effort trying to do all this. Like you said, you know, it's just, they're not going to want it. So I find it to share my story is what I need to do. It's like being authentic, showing my struggles, and just keep recording that once a week on a podcast. Like, here's what's going on. Like today I recorded with Kion of Microbiome Labs, my lab results of my gut biome. I have like total dysfunction. And the other week I did my hormone test with Dutch complete test with Dr. Rice and shared, here are my results. People think I'm fit and healthy, but on the inside, I'm still a mess. But why? So I need to figure out what my imbalances are. And funny, my body, based on the microbiome test results, I am missing or undetected of a bunch of different keystone strains, which are related to metabolic training and conditioning and fat loss. And because I was like, okay, I can't run. I'm struggling with my running distance and all this other stuff, and weight loss. And I could share my screen, but I did a video on it. I need to add vegetables. So everyone doing just strict carnivore saying, oh, you don't need anything else. You know, I've gotten all these lab results back. I've been trying to do more keto carnivore.
If you want to share, go ahead. I mean, yeah, you're unlocked. So.
All right. So it's
I love sharing. Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring, just going to say.
Well, actually, while you're doing that, I did that, oh God, almost 2 years ago. You know Dr. Anthony J?
Yes.
Yeah, so I had him I did my 23andMe, sent him the raw data file from the back end of the website, because he's like, well, whatever they give you is surface level crap. And then I had him come back on the podcast, and I screen shared and everything. We did live over Facebook. I was like, go through it. I don't care. I have nothing to hide. Show, and because we did a deep dive into the health components, and I think the service was called like, he provides a deep dive analysis into your supplemental and as well as your chemical concerns directly aligned with your DNA. And he also prefers to have your blood work with it, but I didn't have it at the time. Yeah. And then since then, he ended up launching some coaches, kind of like what you do, well, similar to what you do, but not completely what you do. But I just had her on the show recently too, where I had one of his coaches come on, and I provided her the blood work, and they added that back into their system and then realigned that data with my DNA research data. And then we did an updated report as well. And it was super cool. Like, I didn't realize, like, I actually genetically, I thrive on coffee. Like I actually process it, you know, twice as fast as most people. So I can just rip coffee on a regular basis. And it's awesome. So then the other part of it was I actually thrive. I mean, I'm not going to be chugging it, but red wine does very well with my genetic profile. Granted, that is a liquid sugar. So you want to, you know, do that in moderation. And obviously, but that what he does still doesn't give me a full analysis into my microbiome and my gut health. To your point, now that I'm more of a geek, yes, I have those planned now too. I want to do a microbiome analysis. I want to do a hormonal analysis. It'd be super cool just to know.
It's Dutch complete test is awesome. And so this is what's fascinating if you feel like you're struggling, and I would say the struggle is real, and this is how I share my personal story that, you know, I'm trying different things. And I would say it's N equals 1, what your macronutrient ratio is to balance your blood sugar and to burn fat. You know, follow like Vinny, no sugar, no grains. Yes, but some people might need a little bit more variety in their microbiome. So what Karan said today was that your genetics, guys, I've done all those reports too, DNA Fit, and then this Genoplate and Arivel and all these companies. He said that's 10% of what you should eat. 90% is based on what your microbiome needs. So like your garden, you need to feed and fertilize your garden, your gut bugs with prebiotics. So what's fascinating, I'll just show real quick, is the alpha diversity. I'm like, you know, you think, I feel like I'm doing I'm doing the fasting, I'm doing all this stuff, I'm doing low carb, eating more protein, taking my collagen, taking all my supplements. But if you look at on the left, the alpha diversity index, it's really low.
Yeah, I should say you're down like that 2 to 3 range, 3.47. There you go. I see your number now.
Yeah. Over to
so what does that first graph basically say?
Well, that's a whole
That's a whole thing. But it's interesting because like the first graph you're low, but then in the second graph, your beta diversity, you're like almost off, you're almost top of the line there. So
yeah, it's beta is these are the number of the species, and this is a variation of the species.
Oh, okay.
So that's what it was.
So and your richness is on the alpha side, your richness was low, but your diversity on the beta was high. So
yeah. Yeah, and so he went through this, and they give you recommendations, which is funny, you know, it's having more mushrooms and cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. So that's what's funny, because I've been avoiding vegetables except for exception of I usually Brussels sprouts with bacon and cauliflower and Brussels sprouts.
I think I saw a cabbage post on your Instagram recently or something too. So
I don't know, cabbage.
Maybe it wasn't cabbage. Some kind of. It looked like it was just
onions.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yes, and I know cabbage and onions both have a different impact on your gut biome. So
yeah.
But
so anyways, this is what's funny, and I'll turn it off. But just some main keystone strains in my microbiome that impact my fitness ability and my ability to burn fat are not even detected. So what I'm saying is that you might be doing everything right, but what I think we need to do when you can, you know, have the money to do it is like, I think $300 to do a lab test and correlate that with like a hormone test as I did with Dutch, and then a GI map and look at your pathogens, and your immune function will be told there too. So that's what I keep finding, you know, research on secretory IgA and just different how our gut works and how the innate and adaptive immune system is supposed to work so we are healthy. So it's what we eat is really essential, chewing our food, eating slowly, all that stuff, and the intermittent fasting. So anyways, I've been going down a lot of rabbit holes every day because I'm like, intermittent fasting, how does that help cell autophagy to improve our immune system? So that's where I left off.
Well, it's funny because I got into a healthy debate with a friend of mine who's a nurse. Like, she never did any fasting before, and then I turned around to it a couple of years ago, and now she's doing some new program. She's like, well, according to autophagy, blah blah blah. Well, you've never gone more than 48 hours, and really you're better off doing 72 or 4. I'm like, well, I was like, listen, there's multiple schools of thought on this. I reminded her, I said, what you're studying and this new influencer, great, I'm excited for you. I'm going to go off of what I've researched myself. I tell everybody to do that. Like, listen, be accountable for your own knowledge and your own research. The biggest problem, going back to the earlier point, is most people aren't doing anything. They're not, they just want, to your side, they want the easy, oh, well, if I just put my key in the ignition and turn, that's what I want. Okay, well, that's the way to go down the pharmaceutical route. Or they get some kind of magic package of supplements. Oh, you'll like this. I love people who go to the dairy section of the grocery store and they feel healthy because they're buying all these probiotic foods. And I said, have you done any gut analysis at all? Like, okay, you could be pumping in all this supposedly, air quotes, healthy probiotic food that you don't even need. And that's throwing stuff off too. Am I wrong about that?
Well, also I learned years ago that a lot of that stuff doesn't get through your stomach acid. So if it doesn't, like I use a spore-based probiotic that can actually bypass acidic, that's supposed to prevent, you know, the bad things from going through. And so if certain things might not even get into your small intestine, large intestine. So it is quality, and a lot of that stuff Oh, I know the other thing. If it has to be refrigerated, that was my main point.
Yeah.
It has to be refrigerated. What's the temperature of your body? So if it needs to be refrigerated, I was like, how's that even make sense?
By the time you get to the stomach has got to be at least your standard body temp of anywhere from 97 to 98 degrees. So it's like, or hotter because it's inside of your body. So I'm like, interesting. I agree with that because, you know, something I learned from Vinny and his team with his vitamin company was I didn't realize that a lot of people can't absorb vitamin B12. So he designed a sublingual you put under your tongue so you can absorb it there, because he's actually one of the people that once it hits the stomach, there's no absorption happening. So by the time it leaves the stomach and gets to the intestines where a lot of nutrient absorption happens, again, nothing. So he can't. So that's why he invented that sublingual option, because he's one of those, whatever that percentile of the population who can't absorb B12. And B12 is an essential component of our necessary vitamins and minerals. So.
Is that with Andy? I just interviewed. He's on my list to publish podcast with Andy Schreiber from the Vitamin Club.
I was just talking to him yesterday. So ever since Andy and Vinny became a client, like we were just friends before, and now they're actually one of my clients. I love it. I get the inside information before everybody else gets it. I'm like, oh, I can't wait for that to go public. That'd be awesome. Andy, I will say, Andy has become quite the knowledgeable man. I mean, he's like us. He does the research. He takes accountability for that. Him and Vinny are taking it very seriously with their vitamin business. I love it. So, and that goes back to, I think a good summary of this show, right, is take accountability. I keep coming back to that. You said it earlier in the show, like, why aren't people taking accountability for these things? This is your life. This is your health. This is your future.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I keep saying every day. It's like, what are you doing today? At the beginning of all this staying at home stuff, I kept posting every day or once a week. Did you get outside today? How many times did you go for a walk? And, you know, what are you doing to make yourself laugh and play? And just this whole self-care word kept coming to my head. It's like I created the holistic method like 8 years ago. Wow. 10 years ago, it started being the works. And that's exactly what we need to do. These 8 elements is nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress, movement, mobility, digestion, gut health, hydration, happiness, gratitude, and play.
Yep. And there's the happiness. I'm screen sharing again on the site. So there you go.
Look at you.
I'm on this game.
That I know you got the branding. So that's kind of what I created over the years being a personal trainer, realizing there's more to being healthy than just exercise, and that you have to, you know, take care of the whole you from the inside out with a holistic method to burn fat, optimize your health, I say, and improve performance. So it just kind of correlates perfect with the whole, what do you do to build your immune system? And I keep going back to like, wait a minute, it's all this stuff I wrote over the last 10 years, and that it is what you have to do to yourself. It's not a pill. It's not something in a box you go do. It's not a, you know, something is short term. It's a lifestyle. It's a journey, and it's an ongoing process.
And I love the honesty you put in here. I mean, I highlighted it just now towards the end of that section on your site. Again, people, DebbiePotts.net. But right there is not a one-size-fits-all approach. Mm-hmm. And because we should be reminded that, and I've had to learn that over the years too, like, ladies and gentlemen, we are all amazing, concentrated components of amazing microbiology. We all come from different genetic makeups, different parts of the world, different lifestyles today, different lifestyles in our ancestors' past. So different things are being passed on. So yes, we are very diverse. So yes, there's probably some basic fundamentals that you and I mentioned earlier in the show that yes, okay, water, sleep, okay, everybody can benefit from vitamin D nowadays. The basic essential vitamins and minerals, if you are supplementing, whole foods, okay, great. Those are basic stuff. And actually for a lot of people hearing this, they need to do the basics. But then once you've covered that, then you start feeling better. Then you become geeks like you and me, where it's like, oh, okay, what else can I figure out? Yeah. Okay, is there something else I'm missing? Like, I feel great, but to your point, like you think, well, I started feeling great too, but then I look internally, like, you know what? There's a few other things I could tweak. Yeah. It's
knowing that you could be better. Like when I went over my hormone panel, my hormones were like down at like the bottom of the line that you should be at. And I was like, oh my God, I'm pretty good. But that means I could be better. And if don't settle for just how you are now, that you could even be so much more energetic and happier and thriving so much more, why do we just settle for this? Like, oh, there's so much more we could do.
I think a lot of us take that, and I'm not trying to pick on people because we've all been there, right? Yeah. It's very easy to find the easy path, or it's very easy to just, I don't want to say give up, but some people call it put a hold on things. But at least for me, I was excited for this show today because I knew you'd align with me on this, is that these are some of the basic things that you don't put on hold, that you don't take a break from. I mean, granted, if you have your cheat meal, or not a cheat day, people, by the way, cheat meal, stop this cheat day crap, okay? That's how you're really breaking your metabolic alignment, okay? You want to have a piece of cheesecake once a month or something like that? Great, do that. If you're having cheesecake all week long, probably not helping your goals. Just throwing it out there, okay? That's not exactly a whole food, okay? Now, granted, I've done stints where I've crushed red meat 5, 6, 7 days a week. I've done a whole month on straight up carnivore. Had no problems with it. Now, granted, I've also done some DNA research, and I also know that I thrive on red meat, so I'm good there. Yeah. I haven't seen the gut bacteria analysis stuff yet. I haven't seen if that gains or just leaves me flat line on the hormonal stuff. I'm excited to learn that stuff more. But yeah, it's too easy nowadays for everybody to just say, I'll just do this. Or like I had a call the other day with my book accountability partner. He did 75 hard last year. You ever familiar with that?
No.
Oh, there's another big podcaster out there, Crazy Musclehead. He created a program called 75 Hard. It's not necessarily a nutrition program. It's a mindset. It's everything. Like for 75 days straight, you are strict on everything. You have to work out, whether it's rain, snow, shine. You have to do all of these things because it's harder than anything you've ever done. That's the point. So he had to restart that 4 or 5 different times. But he finally completed it. And as he completed it, he was finally going to do his first marathon. And he had already been experimenting with ketogenic lifestyles for about 1.5 years. So sure enough, literally, actually it was last night, we're on a Zoom call, and I see him reach over and pull out a Diet Dr. Pepper and take a swig. And I just looked at him, and I was like, bro, what are you doing? And he's like, it's only once in a while. And I'm like, that is the one thing you don't do once in a while. Hello, corn syrups. Like, okay, you're killing me, brother. Like, I care about you now. He and I have never physically met. But he and I have been doing book author accountability calls now for over a year. So we become friends and colleagues. And I'm like, man, no, I'm not going to back off on you, bro. Like, that's not cool.
Yeah. I know. I think people, it's like what Vinny always said. I always love what Vinny said, to put the life into living, and just, it's just, it has to be sustainable, but it is like one cheat meal once a month, or, max once a week. But that you got to remember it's the cost, the benefits, you're going to have.
Well, if I try to cheat, I feel like crap the next day.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that doesn't sound like fun. I'm like, no, that's because my body is healthy enough to communicate. I actually have a nice brain to body, connection to my gut. Like my gut is telling my brain, bro, don't put that back in me, man. Like that was rough. Like if I have a sugar of something, the next morning I could feel the inflammation. Vinny says like his joints will hurt from his old football injuries, everything else. So this is like, I actually thrive on that. I love knowing that I'm healthy enough that my brain and my gut are connected again, and they can talk to each other, and they will let me know that, hey man, whatever you tried yesterday, not cool.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't want to do that again.
I know. I'll get a headache literally in 5 seconds from certain foods. So I know it's like, I'm not going there because I'm going to feel like crap instantly. So people are like, oh, just have a bite. I'm like, I can't. There's a reason I can't tolerate it. So
it's choice. I try and get people excited. Like my why is like, what else can what's the next level now? Like I'm at that pace, but my why wasn't always at that level. I remind people that too. Your why will change, but in the beginning, you at least got to commit to your why, your purpose behind living healthy day in and day out. So when stuff like a pandemic comes along, like since the beginning of this, I'm just like, whatever, like I'm good. And then I have friends like, oh, well, that's, it's not really fair if you be that confident. I'm like, are you kidding me? You guys have been making fun of me for years for being the crazy health nut. Now a pandemic comes along, and now I'm the idiot because I'm overly confident and I know that I'm going to be fine.
Yeah.
That's called peace of mind, my friend. Like I earned this, and I'm going to rock it, and I'm going to promote it all I want because I took accountability and I established my why.
Yeah.
Right?
True. Yeah.
Bring on the pandemic, man. Like I told my wife, like bring on the zombie apocalypse. If that's happening next, I'm in. She's not in. She's not a fan at all. She's like, no, just put me out of my misery. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with the whole end of the world apocalypse.
No.
That sounds awful. And I said, yeah, but I'm a survivalist. So like, let's do this.
But so it's another conversation, but I just did labs, you know, as I just went through, and I did this other lab, and I keep testing people, you know, encouraging people to do lab testing, because I didn't know, as I said, what my microbiome is out of balance. And I did pathogen test, and it's not good. So I might feel like I'm thriving and my immune system's super strong, but it's like, I know some people that got coronavirus and were sick for 2 weeks, and they're active, they're fit, they're not overweight. But why? Why did they get really sick from it and other people it's nothing? So, you know, is it their blood type? Is it their genetics? Or did they have chronic stress that contributed, you know, internal stress, that they're going to have these hidden internal stressors as pathogens and low secretory IgA, mucosal barrier damage, leaky gut. And that's what you could be, an athlete doing all this fasting, eating good food. But if you have a stress in your life, emotional trauma or whatever it might be, that can contribute to lowering your immune system. So that's why my big thing is, like, you could be we're doing all that, but I found like my gut wasn't ideal. I had a pathogen, H. pylori, that was detected, and which we all have some, but you know, I had some things going on. So I've been doing a pathogen eradication protocol for a month, and now I'm on a mucosal barrier repair, total gut restoration repair protocol, because I want to make sure when I come face to face with Mr. Coronavirus that I'm going to shove him down his throat and not get it. So, you know, you got to get all your defense systems lined up. And that's what I keep writing about. It's like your football team, all your players are in training, they're ready for the Super Bowl. And that's what I keep thinking, like your Army, your Air Force, your Navy SEALs, are all those guys, all those troops and all their weapons ready to go.
Yeah.
It's all about taking care of yourself.
No, that's a very good point. I make joke about it, but that's a very good point. Like, just because I grew up throwing cow manure at my brother and I, and we'd get into crap fights in the barnyard, that doesn't mean I'm still bulletproof. I guarantee you, I tell you all the time, like, let your kids get dirty. It's good for you, okay? Because trust me, I was a dirty kid. So that definitely set me up in the right point. Like, my father and my younger brother own organic cattle brokering businesses. And my dad, every day he's working, to this day in his 70s, will step foot onto a kill floor in a slaughterhouse. And the federal inspector, they have a conversation in their clean environment. He actually said the other day, he said, yeah, the inspector's like, hey man, how long you been doing this? He's like, well, over 50 years. And he's like, you don't get sick, do you? And he's like, nope. Yeah. Like maybe, the once a year thing or whatever. And he's like, yeah, he's like, how long you been walking in and out of slaughterhouses? He's like, my whole career. And he said, yeah. He's like, you know how many thousands of bacteria and all kinds of stuff that you've just been naturally exposed to throughout your entire life, let alone the farming that you did too? And he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah. He's like, you're probably like a superhuman right now. Like, granted, to your point, it doesn't mean my dad's like bulletproof, but his immune system's probably way the heck stronger than the average person. Yeah, especially at his age. So
yeah. He's built up that immune system by having that exposure to all those different bacteria. And that's, you can go to YouTube, all these videos are being taken down that doctors will come and show, okay, we're supposed to be exposed to different bacteria, and that's normal.
But that's annoying to watch too, because I'm like, sorry, they're just speaking the truth. But again, that's a whole other podcast.
People are Facebooking me, messaging me videos to watch because they can't put it on on Facebook main pages. So I keep getting these messages, watch this video. And I'm like, oh, okay.
The biggest thing there is do not tag or use the keywords COVID or Corona, and hopefully your content will survive. So yeah,
even blogs.
Yeah, it's annoying. But listen, we are coming towards the end of the show, and I know we're kind of a couple minutes over time. So I do want to remind people, I'm going to screen share again, because not every person I've brought on has a lot of connectivity to functional medicine, especially the lab testing you talked about. So I do want you to help bring the show to a close in a minute or so about your final words. But real quick, so with everything you're doing, you have the ability to help people online from anywhere, right?
Yes, it's all online.
So how does that all work then? Just a general overview with the lab testing stuff. Like, people can reach out to you, set up a coaching time. Then once you've, I guess, confirmed with their why and they actually have a clue, then it's time that you can you can guide them through some testing protocols?
Yeah. So
Okay.
there's two different programs. I call it the Health Detective program. That's 90 days or longer if you need more time, coaching time. And then it's more for a health optimizer. So if you go under coaching tab, it's under there. But what I think on health optimizer package is what I just started creating. Like, okay, what if people just are curious what's under the hood? So I just did different packages. Here's one main test you should do. All right, here's two tests, and here's three main tests. And I just included the charge of the lab test, so that you get it to your house, you do the test at your house, and then you ship it back. Cool. And so there's stool or urine tests, and they're simple. And then I just charged for the consultation fee to go over their results. The 90-day program is more working on repairing, rebuilding, and restoring the whole you, with looking at clinical correlation of 3 to 5 labs, and then looking at your main health complaints. I take nutritional therapy, look at your genetic profile, and put that all together. And it's just being a health detective. You know, we're investigating, collecting clues, and then we're putting this puzzle together. So we're collecting the missing pieces of the puzzle and putting it all in.
Super cool.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's just something I've always wanted to do, because when I started having my health problems, I kept going to different doctors, functional medicine people, naturopaths, but everyone would just do lab results and give me supplements. And you can't out-supplement the bad lifestyle habits. So you have to work on you. And in what we do in FDN called the Dress for Health Success Protocol. So it's a 90-day protocol we'll create, working on their diet, your sleep, your exercise, your stress reduction, and supplementation to work on your healing and rebuilding.
That's super cool. Yeah, you've definitely been busy. You built out a lot of options to get people kind of like, you know, poke around, figure out where they want to go, what they want to really tap into. If they want to, you know, tip their toe in the water, you can. You don't have to go all in on everything. And like to your point, mentally, not everybody might be there yet, right?
Correct.
Actually, I tell people all the time, like, this is my quote nowadays, is after 4 years of podcasting, it's like, listen, we're just all at a different place in the timeline, and that is okay. As long as you're willing to accept that, hey, I clearly need to learn more. I need to take accountability for it. I know I don't know everything that Scott knows. I know I definitely don't know everything that Debbie knows, but if I can at least accept that and then start moving forward, well, now I can start moving on progress and slowly gathering this necessary ideas and content. To your point, working on initially, maybe you just need to work on the healthy lifestyle tips first. Yeah. And you don't need any of this programming because you don't have the mental game yet to even commit to it.
Yeah, just start with nutrition. I think what you're eating and the when, how, and why. And that's something you can do on your own.
Yeah. And then when you start feeling better and you start having that real life reaction of like, oh, wait a minute, I physically feel better. I mentally start feeling better. Yeah. Maybe there's something to this. Okay, now I'm ready to advance to the next stage of the timeline. So
I know.
That's why I love doing what we do. So
yeah, it's fun.
Listen, Debbie, I do want you to help bring the show to a close. And I asked my guest host to do some final words. Really, it's an all-encompassing message. Like actually nowadays I'm calling it really a legacy message. Like you obviously have a business going on. You clearly care about health. You got into the functional side of things. But like right now, if they forget everything else we shared today, and they can obviously go to debbiepotts.net and get into that too. But if you had a way to just kind of all-encompassing message you want to leave behind, what would you like to leave behind for people?
I just think take ownership for your health, for your body. You've got one body, you know, you do it for your car. You take your car in for repair, oil, lube change, you get new tires, get an alignment. It's like, why don't we invest the amount of money we do on our cars to our own bodies? I don't get it.
I love that so much right now. Yeah, that's a very good point. We love our vehicles for our businesses, but then the person who needs to drive the vehicle is not being taken care of as well. So that's a great connection. Wow, I love that. Well, listen, hang tight. I want to give you a proper goodbye off the air. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Debbie Potts. Talked about health, business, and lifestyle today. Obviously focusing heavily on healthy lifestyle practices, more knowledge on the functional medicine front. So those of you who watched this live during the pandemic, please take this step to heart. Please share and really start focusing on your daily life practices. I think Debbie really covered a lot of great tips today. And again, if you need to know more, go to debbiepotts.net and you'll be able to learn a lot more. So again, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to fuel your health, your business, and your lifestyle. Debbie helped us do that today. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, you too can live the fuel we'll talk to you guys again soon.